speak on it. We're here today in a time when things are very critical in another area of world affairs. We're here with what I would call a war that is now taking place as it relates to one of the other aggressors that's been in the news for years and now during my lifetime anyway. This is the first time I've seen Putin really get in it like it is now. Back in the day, I remember when the Russians and other things was happening, but Putin been there for a while, and there's always been some type of scrimmage going on. But I'm not going to even pretend to think that anything that I would say would have anything to do with what you would think. But I do want to just suggest this. What some people, as I listen to the radio and look at a little this and that, some people of Negro African descent really get caught up in situations. Some people saying it ain't our affair, woo, woo, woo. I don't know how you can say that, because that damn gas is damn near $15 a gallon. It is our affair. I mean, you can talk all that you want to talk. Like when that situation happened in Wisconsin with the white boy, and we got to stop being so narrow-minded. It's our affair. We're here. And we don't have to get all deep into situations, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm not going to try to get deep into the situation, but I'm not going to be so shallow that I say it don't affect us. It does. I was in a store yesterday, another man my generation, senior citizen like me, and he was looking for something, and he said, man, there ain't nothing here. And I said, I used to hear my grandfather and grandmother talk about the Great Depression, how wasn't nothing here. And now here we are talking about ain't nothing here. So do you new generation people that think everything is just a damn device in your hand? It really ain't. Sometimes it's ugly like it is right now in Russia. So we're going to look at a little of that. So you can just get a feel. I drive through the Ukrainian area of Chicago many times. They're over there on Chicago Avenue going to take care of some business. They over here, 200,000 or 300,000 of them, probably some more. Some more will be brought in now that the war is going on. That's going to affect you too. So don't try to act like you are American, but when other things happen, it don't affect us, we Negroes. No. For all practical purposes, and if I was the president, I would reinstitute the draft. And all of these little wannabe killers on the street and our killers, man, I'd be done ship them over there and say, look out, Putin, you can have these. Put them in your uniform, or tell the Ukrainians, look, y'all can have these. These niggas have been killing folks for days. You can have them right now. That's what they need to do. Just go through all of the colonies. Pick up all of the killers. Send them over there. Put them on either side. Then say it don't matter. Because you always talking about, I ain't going to let my kid go. You killed a 24-year-old creature laying around in your house. Ain't never finished school. Ain't never done nothing but be a menace to society. Now's a great time for you to let the man come out of him, or let him go in the grave where he probably belongs. So y'all need to be actually lobbying Biden and his crew to reinstitute the draft and get some of these killers off the streets of America. Now, show some of this, man, before I get too far out here. Whatever piece you got there, showing them people over there with that bomb, just run it, Omar.
Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences. Today, I'm authorizing additional strong sanctions and new limitations on what can be exported to Russia. This is going to impose severe cost on the Russian economy, both immediately and over time. We have purposely designed these sanctions to maximize the long-term impact on Russia and to minimize the impact on the United States and our allies. We've now sanctioned Russian banks that together hold around $1 trillion in assets. As promised, we're also adding the names to the list of Russian elites and their family members that were sanctioned as well. Between our actions and those of our allies and partners, we estimate that we'll cut off more than half of Russia's high-tech imports.
Over the age of 50.
Now, they doing that. But at the end of the day, this is war. This is real war. This is not some of this stuff that sound like it's way over yonder in the desert. No, this is right here. You know what I'm saying? Alaska, Russia, all over in that area. That's still close enough for you to understand some things. You understand me? Don't be thinking that, we might just be able to sit on the sidelines. Don't think that. Because what's going on now, COVID done about had its 2 years, can't call it a distraction. No, you can't. All them people that died, no, they wasn't no distraction. That was true. But it was an orchestrated move. And they say it came out of China. Ain't that interesting? And now the next, and this ain't no distraction, move is coming out of Russia. See? So just understand what's going on around you. They reconfiguring how humans function in societies, not just the American society, but period. And China and Russia has a plan. And the Americans are part of that plan. But they have to front right now and pretend that it's something different. But it's not. They want people programmed to these devices like they are in China. They want people broken down like they are in other places as it relates to being able to think and think they're independent and think that they have democracy. That's going to change. It really is. So I think what we have to do is start paying close attention. COVID has been terrible as it relates to the real problems it has caused. But I heard the other night that Putin was talking about nuclear warfare. Well, we used to hear him talking about biological warfare, and now we already know if they just took COVID and just the issues surrounding it, yeah, it's been like a biological warfare. Now you take whatever can come out of this situation, and if something other than just guns and blood be used, continue, Mamar. Let's just try to follow the news.
A city in eastern Ukraine are now worried about thetheir safety.
Куда, сын, на работе я одна? Куда мне бежать? Куди ховатися? Куди, скажіть, будь ласка? Свою семью должны покидать. Что это такое?
Some people waited at ATMs before they rushed to leave the city, and those who stayed weren't sure where to go or what to do. Well, friends from a city in eastern Ukraine are now worried about their safety.
Куда, сын, на работе я одна? Куда мне бежать? Куди ховатися? Куди, скажіть, будь ласка? Свою семью должны покидать. Что это такое?
Some people waited at ATMs before they rushed to leave the city, and those who stayed weren't sure where to go or what to do.
A second plan. Because, see, those are people that had nothing to do with this. Those are just citizens like us.
When you've got a health concern,
But now
they're
caught
searching
up.
the internet and their science.
They go to the
Their
ATM
surprise
and
bills,
you know,
and there's
how much
knowing
they're
what
going to
you're
get out.
pay.
Be
There's
sort
a
of
lab
like
test
down
on
there in
your
New
own
Orleans.
schedule from home. There's
When that
physician-reviewed
situation
results.
came
You
to
can
hurricane,
understand Everlywell.
Katrina,
Demand better
some
for
people
your
ain't never
body.
got their money
I
back.
recently
They
purchased
never got
the
those bank
Everlywell
accounts
food
straight.
sensitivity test. Turns
So when things happen like this, don't care what complexion the person is or what location the person is, a real human being feel that. I felt those women when I saw them. Because those are real people that ain't got nothing to do with these political operatives that's been playing this game all the time. You don't know what Biden's son was doing with Putin and rest of them Russians back in the day. But then you didn't want to hear that. You just played like that was not something that was happening. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was fake news. You didn't want to hear about Biden and Harris' relationship in China. Maybe, you don't want to hear none of that. But now here we are. You see? Here we are. But those people that are victims like we are, you see the pain? You hear the pain? Where do I go? What do I do? She's just trying to get by like you, like me. But now these damn politicians want to be God because we, the people. We, the people. All right, brother, continue.
Can you walk us through how the president is spending his day, how his security team is spending the day, if they're doing anything in these what could be these final hours before an attack, if that's the case?
Well, I've seen the reporting on this, but let me be very clear. We have been saying for days that Russian military forces are in an attack position. That has not changed. They are capable of operationalizing at any point in time. We are in constant contact with the Ukrainians about their positioning, about their capacity and capabilities. We're not predicting a day, a moment, or an hour. That has been our assessment and what we've been communicating with the Ukrainians for some time now. Let me tell you, though, something else that we're also seeing or assessing right now. We believe, obviously we've laid out a game plan that we believe that President Putin has been implementing over the course of the last several weeks, if not longer. It's clear, and what our assessment is that President Putin did not expect the United States to have the level of information that we have, did not expect us to put out this amount of information that we have put out, did not expect the global community to be as unified, including in how unified the global community was in putting out the sanctions yesterday. And what we're seeing now, our assessment is that he is improvising, adapting, and we're having to respond and adapt his own actions to as we are responding to him. So we don't have a new assessment. I will tell you that what the president is doing is what he has been doing for several days now, which is continuing to meet and engage with his national security team. Obviously, he had a PDB this morning, and he will receive regular updates from his team. He will continue to engage closely with partners and allies, something that he has been doing for several days now. But that is a continuation of what our engagement has been.
Now, all of this is history as we present it, because the war is going on right now. There's a piece I just sent, Amar, about what's happening right now today.
Easy at-home lab testing from everywhere.
And that's how it is. I mean, whatever we hear. Wednesday night when it kicked off, I just got through looking at the piece where she looked like a Negro. Ambassador to the UN was reading what she was reading, and the people were sitting around, I guess, representing whoever they represent. But it didn't matter, for the night was out. It was on, and it's on now. So we are in a crucial time. And, it's got to be painful, because they had COVID over there. I guess they got COVID over there. I don't think they're exempt from God. All right, brother, let's hit this.
On cities and military bases, and sending troops and tanks in is pushing its invasion of Ukraine to the outskirts of the capital, unleashing airstrikes on cities and military bases, and sending troops and tanks in as well. Charlie D'Agata is on the ground in Kyiv with the very latest. Charlie, good morning.
Good morning to you. Residents here woke up to air raid sirens this morning, if they got any sleep at all. We heard huge explosions. They start around 4 a.m. In fact, we've heard some explosions just a few moments ago. Now, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said Russian reconnaissance troops had reached parts of the capital already, just a few miles from the city center.
Explosions lit up the city skyline overnight. It's unclear whether this is a Russian or Ukrainian aircraft falling from the sky in flames, but missiles and rockets rained down on the capital in the early hours. A shattered apartment block in the city, proof of the indiscriminate strikes that pounded residential neighborhoods.
My mother screaming, wake up, wake up. I'm waking, all in the dust, screaming.
At first light, the Ukrainian president told his people what they already knew. At 4 a.m., Russian forces launched missile strikes. He said, they say civilian objects are not a target for them. This is a lie. On the northern outskirts of the city, a ferocious battle broke out at the Gostomel air base. Ukrainian forces trying to fend off invading Russian paratroopers. Day 2 of the invasion, and Russian troops are knocking on the door of the capital itself. They advanced south from Belarus, seizing Chernobyl and the highly radioactive grounds of the former nuclear power plant north of Kyiv. In desperation, the government put out the call for men 18 to 60 to arm themselves for battle, banning them from fleeing the country. Plenty have stepped forward. This morning, they were handing out guns at a local sports facility. They don't want us revealing this location because they don't want it to be a target for the Russian military. But we have seen a steady stream of volunteers. The commander told us it's not hundreds, but thousands, very few with any military experience, every single one of them ready to fight. Georgi, a map maker by trade, says he'll learn on the go. Why was it important for you to volunteer today? This is my country, he said. I have a family. I have a duty to protect my family and my country.
And this is what it's come down to today, the reality that Russians are on the way. They're closing in fast. It raises the terrifying prospect of street-to-street guerrilla warfare, outmatched, outgunned, and out of options. Emery?
So citizens have an option, leave or stay and fight. It's one thing to hand people a gun, but are they prepared to actually fight?
Do you know, Emery, it's a sad fact that I've been in situations like this before where you've had local militias stepping up. What we witnessed this morning, people were very emotional. I mean, nobody was smiling. Nobody was getting ready for this. This wasn't no sort of rallying cry. In fact, the men we spoke to were getting very emotional. It's another thing to point out that they don't have enough weapons to go around. I asked the commander what would happen in that case, and he said, we'll just take them off dead Russian soldiers. And he wasn't being glib. He wasn't joking around. And this is a fact, too. In parts of the city, the government here has encouraged people to start making Molotov cocktails. So, and that's reality. That's not being exaggerated. So these militias that are starting here, the people are stepping forward. They could hide. They could hunker down. There are a lot of young families here. A great number of people, tens of thousands of them, have already fled the city. But what we've seen transpire over the past couple of days, first the salvos that happened, pre-dawn yesterday, and then again this morning, now landing in residential areas and waiting for these Russian forces, these paratroopers, to advance on the city. They are intent on fighting street to street.
We've been talking all morning long about what is Putin's endgame. He says he doesn't want to occupy Ukraine, but what are you seeing on the ground?
I think people here are now convinced with the advance of Russian soldiers in the east, in Kharkiv, and now in Kyiv itself. This is no longer a question of not wanting to occupy Ukraine. Remember, nobody believes a single thing that the Russian presidency is saying, because he's been lying all along. When Putin said that he wasn't going to launch an invasion, and then an invasion happened anyway. So to say that he has no intention of occupying this area or hitting civilian targets, even before this invasion took place, they didn't believe anything out of the Kremlin or this administration. So they are now resigned to the fact that unless they themselves fight and the Ukrainian forces fight, they're fully expecting that Putin has plans to take over the capital and the country.
Wow. Charlie D'Agata, thank you very much, Charlie.
Now, just being a regular human citizen, it's a terrible thing, man. But we sort of live like that here in Chicago. We under attack. We are. It's damn near just like it is over there. Just have not escalated yet in our colonies. Now Putin over there trying to make those country members part of their colony with his occupying force, like we have an occupying force. Our occupying force are DNA members of our families and polices and others that are not even citizens. Yeah, we feel it, but now we see it. But Omar, if you can find that picture that talks about the presidents that, and I just want them up there instead of them looking at me so they don't think I'm out here spreading false, fake news. See, this whole thing with Russia and war, let's be clear on a thing or two. How do you think the people felt when Bush and company moved on Bin Laden, or whoever in the hell it was that moved on Bin Laden? How did they feel? They was being invaded by who? A bully. A big power, America. Like those people over there being bullied. Now those people over there, all of them are light-skinned, what they used to call Caucasians. Don't be getting off on racism and white supremacy and big. No. That situation that's going over there is another Caucasian group taking control and power over another Caucasian group. That's just the nature of the human being. That's part of what I think Whoopi Goldberg was talking about that situation back in the day. Man's inhumanity to man. Why do Russia want to go in there and just take their stuff when they know that those people can't defend themselves? That's the same thing that people thought about, particularly I would believe in Libya, when this country, Obama and that Clinton female, went over there and killed Gaddafi. That's how their people felt. Just like we see how those people looking at how they feel, that's how the people that's been victims of the American aggression felt. So, we can sit back here now and listen to Clinton and Obama and whatever, Biden and whoever else want to run their mouth. Y'all running y'all mouths, but you aren't in no position to say nothing about nothing, because you have done it yourselves. You have. Now, I don't remember. Maybe I just got sort of, a blank in my memory. I don't remember no real war jumping off under Trump. I do not. I know that he and that little boy over there in North Korea kept, going back and forth and da-da-da-woo-woo, but it didn't go like that. I don't remember prices going up at the gas pump 5 and 6%. I don't. But that's a lie. It ain't no 5 or 6%. I mean, $5 or $6 because here they done went up 50 to 75%. You understand? So we looking at what's happening there, but that's close to here. Close enough for American colonies to send some soldiers that's killing innocent people here. Go round them up and help those people on the ground. Defend those people. That's what you do, Biden. You want to stop the violence in Chicago? Go pick up them damn criminals and send them over there right now. Give those people some help. Give them some bodies. Give them some guns and let them fight over there where it matters. So they can stop killing babies over here that looks like them. Send your citizens over here that looks like them. Move on, man, before these creatures be ready to hang me when they see me walking down the street.
On the ground in Lviv, Ukraine, where large portions of the government has sort of moved their operations as they are concerned about Kyiv. Lucas, good afternoon to you.
Martha, U.S. officials say the Russians have all the forces they need in place to launch a large-scale invasion at a moment's notice. Now, let's go back to that map that Bill was showing of Ukraine. I wish I had a telestrator to show you what officials are saying about the latest intelligence about this next phase that will likely be Putin again claiming the need to protect ethnic Russians inside Ukraine. The Pentagon is looking at 3 potential avenues of attack: north from Crimea, where they have dozens of helicopter gunships, east from that breakaway province in Moldova that we don't talk about much, and west from the separatist-controlled areas in Donbass that Putin just claimed and sent forces who he called peacekeepers. Let me also draw your attention to Ukraine's second-largest city, Kharkiv, to the northeast. As you can see, Martha, it's very close to the Russian border and the city of Belgorod, where massive amounts of armors and medical units have arrived in recent days. I'm also told increased fuel shipments have been distributed to those frontline Russian units. This large field hospital was recently completed just 12 miles from the border, an ominous sign, officials say. Now, officials initially thought the Russians would shut down social media a week in advance, so Russian soldiers are not texting their girlfriends and giving away secrets. U.S. officials now think the invasion could kick off without electronic warfare and putting Ukraine dark. These Russians are not coming in on a Ural pass, Martha. They're arriving on T-72 and T-80 main battle tanks that have been flooding in along with medical personnel, short-range ballistic missile units, and helicopter gunships. Now, Ukrainian officials have been saying for weeks, don't panic here in Ukraine. Now they're saying don't panic, but carry a gun after the Ukrainian parliament voted to permit open carry. Now, today is Fatherland Day in Russia. It used to be called Red Army Day. Sounds fitting for a leader who wants to put the Russian Empire back together. Martha?
Lucas Tomlinson in Lviv, Ukraine, where a lot of this is playing out. Lucas, thank you very much. Great to hear from you this afternoon.
Well, we're going to leave that alone. Amari, I don't know what else is up there, but I think, well, I do know what's up there, but I'm just trying to be sure that the sequence follows. And I guess the best way to be sure is, the piece about the Supreme Court, because that's something that I think we're going to look at. Find the piece with Graham, because although I heard that Biden has already made known his choice, there's a little background that I think, I would sort of like to share with the people. We shared it the other day. The bottom line is this. There are some good candidates, but all of them can't be selected. But, we'll hear more. We'll hear more. All right, brother, let's just see what this is. Yeah, right here.
Finally tonight, there's an opening on the Supreme Court, and the confirmation process has certainly changed over the years. Antonin Scalia was confirmed 98-0. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, 96-3. Anthony Kennedy, 97-0. Stephen Breyer, 87-9. Even John Roberts was confirmed 78-22, but that's when things began to change because of who was in the group voting no. Joe Biden voted no, and Barack Obama voted no, and so did Hillary Clinton, and Dick Durbin, and Chuck Schumer, and John Kerry. The last four Democrat nominees for president voted no. John Roberts was unanimously rated well qualified by the American Bar Association. Not a single dissenting vote, but that wasn't enough for these four future Democrat nominees for president. They opposed John Roberts because it was politically expedient to do so. Being fair was hardly a match for their political ambition. Here we go again with Biden's first opening on the high court. He says he wants a Supreme Court that looks like America. If that's true, it's a brand new position for him. In 1991, Joe Biden was in the Senate when Thurgood Marshall retired from the Supreme Court, and Clarence Thomas was nominated to fill the vacancy. Clarence Thomas is black. He would have replaced the only black Supreme Court justice in a country where 13% of the population was black. But Joe Biden voted no. If Biden had his way, the Supreme Court would have been all white. And that doesn't look like America. Joe Biden now says he wants a black female on the high court, but he opposed a black female in 2005. Even worse, he used that old Jim Crow relic called a filibuster to try and keep Judge Janice Rogers Brown off the D.C. Court of Appeals. And Biden made it clear he would use the filibuster again if she were ever nominated for the Supreme Court. In fact, Biden quoted Senator Robert Byrd while he was opposing a black woman for the highest echelons of our judiciary. Ain't that some irony? Quoting a former Klansman while you oppose a black nominee. That doesn't look like America. And then there's Miguel Estrada. In 2001, Estrada, who was Hispanic, was nominated for the D.C. Court of Appeals. He was found well qualified by the American Bar Association, but Biden and other Senate Democrats blocked him. In 2001, 13% of the country was Hispanic, and exactly 0 members of the Supreme Court were. Biden and the Democrats did not just keep a Hispanic man off the second highest court in the country, they kept him off the bench because he was Hispanic. And this from the crowd who now claims they want the judiciary to look like America. President Biden may want the court to look like America, but Senator Biden most assuredly did not. I can't think of anything that looks more like America than being a mother while you also excel in your profession. Mothers have been balancing work and home since the dawn of time. If you really want something to look like America, every single one of us was brought into the world by a mother. So what could possibly look more like America than putting a mother on the high court, especially one rated well qualified by the American Bar Association? Sandra Day O'Connor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg were both mothers, but neither was on the bench in 2020 when Amy Coney Barrett was nominated. You claim you want the court to look like America? There are 85 million mothers in this country and not a single one on the Supreme Court at that time. So why did every single Senate Democrat oppose putting what would have been the only mother on the Supreme Court? Joe Biden had a chance to make the court look like America, but he refused. He opposed a black man, a black woman, a Hispanic man, and a mother. And all were qualified. All would have made the court more diverse, but Biden said no. And now Joe Biden has promised to make the next Supreme Court justice a black female. Americans, including a majority of Democrats, believe Biden should consider all nominees. So why not look for the most qualified candidates, period, Mr. President? I am fully convinced some of the names on that list would be black women. I can think of several right now. One would be Michelle Childs from South Carolina. She can compete no matter the pool of applicants. The people who know her and work with her and appear before her are universal in their praise for her character and her intelligence and her work ethic and demeanor. She was elected to a state court judgeship in South Carolina, a state hardly known for quotas or affirmative action. She was elected out of all the candidates because she was the most qualified, not because she was a black woman. She was elected by a Republican-dominated legislature, another entity not known for its embrace of quotas or affirmative action or set-asides. She was later confirmed by a voice vote by the U.S. Senate for a federal judgeship. Not one single senator opposed her. Among those supporting her included former Senator Jim DeMint, who some consider to be the grandfather of the Tea Party movement. I don't think it was quotas or a belief in affirmative action that motivated Senator DeMint to support Judge Michelle Childs. She was nominated and confirmed because she was supremely qualified. And this has been borne out by her time on the federal bench. There's a difference between picking someone who is supremely qualified and happens to be black and picking someone because she is black. All Biden had to do was say he was going to find the most qualified person for the job, period. That list would have undoubtedly included black women, and he could have picked one of those black women, but he didn't do that. He wanted to make a political point. He wanted to help himself, and in the process, he sent the wrong message. Black women do not need to compete merely among themselves for one to prevail. They can and should and do prevail no matter the competition, and I have seen it countless times. You should look for it yourself. Joe Biden now claims he wants a court that looks like America, despite the fact that he whiffed when he could have done that in the past. And in the process, he has refused to do the one thing that looks the very most like America. Pick the most qualified person. I have every confidence that would have been a black woman. I wish you did too, Mr. President.
All right. That's because I speak on it. Now let me just say this. Now there is an issue here. From what I read, heard, whatever, I think that the person that might have been picked is more than likely Judge Brown right here. And I'm going to just say this. If I'm correct, I won't even say it in reference to her. One of those people, I saw them, they was connected to Virginia, and she made it clear that she was a descendant of what appears to be Negro slaves. Her ancestors were slaves in America, which would have made her a real live Negro, which she would have truly got my vote. Now, I'm assuming that these two are two. But I think where the problem is going to hit is that Graham and the Republicans already have 60 votes for Childs. And they judge Childs, and now Biden has showed somebody else that they might have to negotiate for. See, that's politics. And the man was right. Any of the people that he has presented would have been okay. But he allowed those young people to maneuver him. Now, I say young people, I'm talking about that group that had him going around and where he said that if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. And then he somehow or another felt so much pressure that he promised a black female judge and vice president and all of that. And now here he is. And white folks saying, wait a minute, man, you just doing too much. You just too bogus. All in our face, that's reckless, man. You could have done that some other way. And he could have. Because now those Republicans are more than likely going to make a challenge. Because they seem to be more comfortable with Judge Childs, who Claiborne supports. Big shot that might have helped Biden get through a little challenge he was having, getting to where he is right now as president. So all of these little things are in the mix. So why didn't he pick Judge Childs? I don't know. If he picked Judge Brown Jackson, I salute. If he picked another real Negro with descendants of slaves of America, I salute. And I'm going to leave it all alone right there. Disregard this piece we got up here. We ain't going to have time to do that about that severely disabled woman. What we do now, Amari, let's slide off into the Black History piece because we're going to be getting out of here in a minute. This is our last show for Negro history. So let's just run through this real quick. And I already said, I hope they let these things play. You know, this ain't none of my material, and I'm not using it to try to make money. I'm using it to try to educate people and bring awareness. So let's listen to just about Harold Washington.
Washington was born and raised here on the south side of Chicago. He was 43 years old before he even ran for public office for the first time. But long before then, he was sharpening the political and leadership skills that would carry him into the Chicago mayor's office. Harry Porterfield looks at Mayor Washington through the eyes of people who've known him through the years.
I chose to enter into the field of politics because from an early age, high school age if you will, I realized that we as the people in this country, even though we had a tremendous reservoir of talent and a moral goodness which takes second place to no group in the world, we owned very little in comparison. We didn't control much more, and our influence was nowhere commensurate with our numbers.
Harold Washington addressing the student body at Austin High School about his political beginning. A beginning that had its conception at DuSable High School more than 40 years ago. Mary Herrick was one of his high school teachers.
He listened, and he listened with a critical ear. And if I had said something that didn't make sense, he would have done something about it, and that was exactly what I wanted.
Roosevelt University was his next academic stop. There, realtor author Dempsey Travis knew him as a classmate.
We used to have some pretty big dreams when we were at Roosevelt University together. Harold and I were political science majors. And of course, Harold showed a great deal of leadership ability. And in our graduation class of August of '49, there were only 11 blacks out of 507 students. But Harold was the president.
At Northwestern Law School, Washington maintained a lower profile. Fellow students Alan Schwartz and Jerry Robbins, now in practice together, remember the congressman as the friend who posed with them on graduation day, June 16, 1952.
in my first meeting with him, and all meetings really at the law school, the outstanding characteristic was friendliness and a very comfortable person to be with.
We shared 3 years together in a common bond, kidding around, and he joined with us in a racial and a religious fraternity.
In family matters, Washington prefers privacy, but Brother Ramon Price, curator at the DuSable Museum, did agree to talk with us.
He's always been the big brother. He's always been the kind of guy that would take the time to listen to what I had to say, which I suppose that's the most significant thing I can say about our relationship. You know, he'd always sit, even at a time when I was going in the arts, and that wasn't too great a thing. You know, everybody wants you to be something. You know, what are you going to be? You're going to be an artist. Well, that's okay, but what are you going to do? And he always respected that thing.
Okay, we're in a relaxed state. He is humorous. He is witty. He is brilliant. He's quite conversant. He's just an interesting person, even on a personal level, to even be with.
Tuesday, April 12th. After a fitful evening of watching the election return seesaw, Harold Washington pleads for unity, but it becomes clear the winning margin of votes belong to him.
Chicago is one city. We must work as one people for our common good and our common goals. Our politics is strong and vigorous, and it indicates that we are on the verge of a vibrant growth and development here. I want to reach out my hand in friendship and fellowship to every living soul in this city.
Harry Porterfield, Channel 2 News.
Good afternoon.
Now,
the Russian military has begun
Congressman Ralph Metcalf. We had a piece
brutal
by
assault on the people.
Congressman Gus Savage, but I ain't gonna play it because he mentioned, he mentioned a situation, and I don't want no controversy, and I'm already on, and we ain't gonna be able to beep it. But it was a good piece. It's just that I don't want to get caught up in none of that Whoopi Goldberg type stuff. So we're gonna leave that alone. But we saw Newhouse in the back, and the reason I hesitated because I'm not quite sure which political office title I should be using with that, but he's someone else. I'm talking about Negro real politicians back in the day. And that's why we wanted to show you Harold Washington. You know him. You know Ralph Metcalf. You know Gus Savage. And you know Newhouse and a whole lot of. But those are Negroes, y'all. Y'all all caught up in this black. And since you had this black, I can't see nothing. I can't measure nothing other than a bunch of hot air. You claim it. You know what I'm saying? But when you was Negroes, you had people that had integrity. You had people that represented you correctly. You understand? But while we transitioning, listen to this young brother here, because a lot of us do say what he said. So play that piece, Brother Amari, about this word cracker, because I've heard
the word
people
cracker
say
is
but
older
this
than
makes
we
sense to
think.
me.
Many black intellects taught that it came from the slave master cracking the whips on our backs, and I see why that makes sense nowadays. But thousands of years before slavery, the word existed, and ironically, it wasn't hate that produced it, but it was actually an act of black people showing love to white people that produced the word cracker. This is important because people say that the concept of race doesn't exist and that there's only one human race and we shouldn't see color. Well, that viewpoint has fatal implications as humanity begins to reconnect with the secret knowledge of the Most High. Now, we know that because about 4,000 years ago, when non-blacks got the opportunity to learn the 33 divine truths in Egypt, and in some cases 36 truths, during the process, the guardians who taught them discovered that these non-blacks only had the sacred Ka, which is the personality, and they did not have the sacred Ba, which is the spirit. Now, this Ba contains what we call ancestral memory, and it's what unites us together in spirit. It's also the non-physical source of the melanin that makes us black. Now, the problem with them not having the Ba is that the Ba is what enlightens the personality, the Ka. And in the perfect natural world, every person has both the Ba and the Ka. That's the world that modern day black people directly come from. So before we had to start enlightening white people, the method that we used to enlighten the personality was based on the same internal enlightenment system between the Ba and the Ka that our ancestors used forever since the second generation of black people to exist in this universe. So in order to compensate for not having a personal Ba of their own, we instructed them on how to tap into what they now call the universal Ba, or the collective consciousness, or the universal mind, in order for them to be enlightened. Now, in reality, this is the non-physical location where the energy of non-black people originates from. This is the universal Ba. This universal Ba is not intended for people who are able to receive the light from their own Ba. That brings us back to the word cracker. When our ancient sages and high priests confirmed that the souls of these new people on earth could not receive the ancestral light, they were called Gerka, or Gurkha, meaning dark souls, alluding to their state of unenlightenment, being uneducated. Now, of course, the limited mental capacity of these early white people, they could not speak our languages very well. And just like young children mess up words all the time when they're first learning how to speak, that's exactly what the white people did back then with our languages. Now remember, in linguistics, the G sound and the K sound are interchangeable. So the word Gerka eventually evolved into the word Grekos, or Grekos, as seen in early writings from Aristotle, and that word turned into crackers. Now just look up the etymology of the word Greek. It means unintelligible speech, or boy, you stupid. So we know traditionally that the Ba, which is the spirit, is symbolized by water. And the water is what contains the secret divine knowledge that will eventually enlighten the whole world. And that age of Aquarius is the pouring out of that water, the spirit, right? And one thing that we know for certain is that people learn differently. That's why I encourage the world not to be colorblind moving forward, because the way that you enlighten Kabiru, which is black people, is not the same way you enlighten crackers or dark souls. And we want everybody, and I mean everybody, to reach their very highest capacity of knowledge.
And I salute. Now, the young man, he's well learned or inspired, whatever. And whether you believe him or not, it's there. And I think sometimes it's necessary to just give you a little information that you might have not ran across otherwise. I'm not trying to influence people. Although these damn social medias, they won't promote none of my stuff because they say I'm trying to influence public opinion. Well, not like these damn negative, naked, filthy mouth other creatures I see on these daggone things. We just doing this. And that piece of information is good information. And now we finna show you another great. Did you get that piece with Metcalf? So after this piece, let's bring Metcalf back, because there's gonna be something that people need to know because they don't know. And people just need to know a little bit about Congressman Metcalf as it relates to that. But let's look at this piece here. It's a good piece, and I really hope they allow us to show it.
Many people wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. When I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man the fellows stand, or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes, the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist, the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenally.
A salute.
But the question that we also have to address is,
don't
if the
be
book
all been out of shape talking about we used something we didn't have permission to use. All we doing is salute.
Do you think any of us will look back in our...
Something else when you get a chance, Amari, find that piece about this this tax credit, because this tax credit, people need to know that they're going to do the lottery and select 5,000 people that's going to get this guaranteed income, $500 a month. This is just a little something that people have asked about, and we wanted to be sure to share this in this program before we finish, and we will. Now, the piece on Congressman Metcalf.
Particular athlete who had just as big of an impact away from the field of competition as he did on it. We continue our series on Milwaukee's Black History Month now, as Lance Allen highlights the life of Marquette track star Ralph Metcalf.
As we celebrate Black History Month, you need to get to know the name Ralph Metcalf, a great athlete, and maybe the reason why we celebrate today. So who is Ralph Metcalf?
He's probably the greatest athlete that's come out of Marquette, not only as just a student athlete while he was here, but then what he went on to do with the rest of his life.
Just how great?
For a 3-year period from 1932 to 1934, he was known as the world's fastest human.
And that's just his athletic achievements. One of his greatest accomplishments away from sports, what we're celebrating this month.
He was somebody that helped found Black History Month and just a whole lot of other stuff during his political career that's really made an impact.
His legacy began at Marquette, blowing minds by winning NCAA titles in the 100 and 200 meters each of his 3 seasons.
This is one of my favorite photos of Ralph Metcalf. You can see him. He's taking off. You can see even the cinder dust from the track coming up here. Yeah, this is an action shot.
Metcalf became an athletic superstar.
Gold medals, world records, all of the stuff that he did just while being a student athlete here at Marquette. And then, you know, a little bit after that. But yeah, it was really awesome.
And came here because of the Marquette mission.
He was being recruited by all these schools, and he had heard about how Marquette was treating a lot of the other black students, and like in a very positive way. And that was one of the reasons that he ended up here.
Because of his popularity, he became class president too, but never acted like it, instead becoming a true servant leader.
Beyond being an amazing student athlete, he was also a student leader and part of the fabric of the campus. I came across a news clipping where he was providing water for the football team, and he was helping the basketball team.
He competed in the Olympics, winning a gold medal and finishing runner-up to the legendary Jesse Owens. Then post-athletics, he became a U.S. congressman from Illinois and introduced the resolution to establish Black History Month.
He was not this bombastic person. He saw the importance of focusing in and seeing the greatness of all the people in our country and focusing on Black History Month as a start of that.
Bringing in recruits or talking to the team or whatever, it's like, hey, you know, our guy, like he helped, man. You know, he helped form what this is now.
A park in Milwaukee and a federal building in Chicago bear his name. Quietly, Metcalf's legacy lives on 9 decades later.
Every student athlete here at Marquette that's not a freshman anyways is aware of him and knows a little bit of the history and the great things that he's done.
Metcalf passed away in 1978, but clearly his legacy lives on. Lance Allen, TMJ4 Sports.
Well, that's Negro history. And I make a serious distinction, conscious distinction, between Negro history and Black history. When it started, it was Negro history. And those people of late generations, they always think it was Black history. No, buddy, it wasn't. It was Negro history. That was the word designated to represent not only those of us that are descendants of slaves here in America, but to designate all people of melanin, dark pigmentation, whether you was in Africa, wherever. So that gets me back to what I was saying earlier. You can't just say black, because Negro might mean that in Spanish with those Portuguese or whoever it was that came up with it. But the bottom line is this. When you look at the 4 groups of people, that's one of them. And that ain't got a whole lot to do with racism. That's just got to do the way the thing played out. But I want us to know, even though we want to be in denial, that it was the Negro that was pushing before you start describing yourself as a color. Negro might mean black, but it also means more than that. It means Harold Washington. It means Maya Angelou. It means Metcalf. It means Elijah Muhammad. It means Marcus Garvey, although he was not an American Negro, but it means all of that. It means the minister Farrakhan, and on and on and on and on, and he's still here. Now let's look at this piece up here about this guaranteed, because people need to know this. And then I think we got about 2 more pieces, and that's it.
Into the lake. I have a feeling her plunge is something else. What do you think, Caitlin?
I don't think so.
Right?
Maybe she could do something with her daughter, incorporate.
Yeah, and really it doesn't involve cold water. He's the only brave one so far.
Well, I just say what I said as it relates to this, and if it's not a video, but I'm almost saying I thought it was, but if it's not, you saw it. They're gonna have a lottery, and if your name get drawn, then you would get $500 a month for a year, and that's good. And I'm through with that. So, Amari, would you find that piece by, let's end with James Baldwin, if you can find that piece, because he's going to say something that I think is the perfect closeout for Negro History 2022. James Baldwin. Some of you all know that he was a great historical figure, but he had to leave the country. That was him right there above Graham. Let me see, or is it? Well, while you're doing that, I'll get on this thing and send him to you, because we need to do it with him. Some of this stuff I sent it, and doggone it, it just don't seem to get to you. And the truth of the matter is, the message is a profound message. And when we're dealing with these profound messages, it's important to be able to follow the script, but I see it ain't there. So, Amari, play something else you got up there while I find this, because I'm going to send this to you because I need this to be played. Now, in the meantime, you can look at me follow this. I mean, hell, ain't nobody shame. I'm going to find what I got to find, and that's going to be the end of that. But the bottom line is, as we go through these posts, we find them and we put energy into bringing information that hopefully will assist the audience in better understanding. Because sometimes, as I look, because I be critiquing myself and trying to improve, as I look in the process of trying to get information, we run against, you see other people, and you see how they do it, and you say, that's da-da-da-da. I'm not trying to do it like other people. This is just a commentary. But it's a commentary as it relates to providing information, not just opinion. And I think that the more information you have, that allows you to hear somebody else's opinion without getting faked out. But it's quite obvious you can't find it. So until next week, Alafia, peace, and good health.
Who have racked up a lot of unpaid tickets. Motorists who earn less than 300% of the federal poverty line, or about $40,000 a year for an individual, or $83,000 for a family of 4, they would only have to pay the tickets they'd received in the past 3 years, minus the late penalties. Debt older than 3 years would be forgiven entirely. Mayor Lori Lightfoot says this is all part of her plan to end poverty in Chicago.
What we were seeing is that because of the way that the fines kept doubling over and over again, people would say, my car's not worth the $2,000 that I now owe. And they were giving up their vehicles.
Mayor Lightfoot also announced a lottery for a city universal basic income study. Participants suffering from the economic impacts of COVID-19 would receive $500 per month for a year. Applications for this study will open up in April.
Now, that's good because they've been talking about it. She had said it was going to be ready a long time ago, and now, people have gotten frustrated because they called into the radio show, and they be trying to find out information. So when I saw this, I was glad to see it because it'll help some of those people get some help that they need. And I think one of the things we want to do is be able to give people encouragement. All right, play this one from last week, Amari. This will be a good piece, Negro history, because he's going to say something very important here. And I just sent to James Baldwin. If it didn't come across, we'll leave it alone.
Ridiculous. Why? You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman.
The whole thing, especially the president and Democrats now are talking about income inequality, and that's basically what, you know, when you talk about the richest 85 people on the planet, right?
Yeah.
It's income inequality. Do you think that's, looking at, you know, what's happening in the news now, is that a good idea?
It's a great idea. It is the greatest idea. We have a much more vibrant society when we don't have such a vast chasm between the haves and the have-nots. We need that middle ground that we call the middle class, the people who buy everything, people who use the products that the rich are creating, if they're creating anything other than wealth, right? So it's what's happening with the Chinese economy right now. They're changing their whole outlook because they need consumers. And without a middle class, you're not going to have consumers. You're not going to have it at the level that we normally would have it.
So can I go back to, because I thought what you said was fascinating, because you called it bull when you said people can't, you know, pull themselves up. Do you think that race plays a part in wealth distribution, or either a mindset that you can't or
Today?
cannot? Yeah.
No.
You don't?
No, I don't. You and I, we're proof. Why would race have anything to do with it? Put your mind to what you want to do and go for that. It's kind of like religion to me. It's a good excuse for not getting there.
You know, I said, and it's probably get me in trouble, but I said to some of my colleagues recently, so I know that it's an issue, but it seems like every single day on television I'm talking about race, and it's because of the news cycle, it's in the news, but sometimes I get so tired of talking about it, I want to just go, this is over, can we move on?
And if you talk about it, it exists.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like it exists and we refuse to talk about it, but making it a bigger issue than it needs to be is the problem we have.
So I understand you recently had a birthday. You're 27?
You can move on from that.
No.
Looking at the clock.
No.
And
You
I
got
know
that
y'all
on
got something else
37.
coming
37.
in.
37.
So we'll roll from there. Did you find well, should I say, did you get it? I mean, I sent it twice today. Well, 3 times to count the original time. So if you didn't get it, once again, maybe there's a reason, but he wasn't saying nothing other than something that was real truth and historical as it relates to how it feels to be a Negro in America. And that was back in his day, James Baldwin's day. And I just wanted people to be sort of reminded of the fact that, you know, things have changed, but it's not as much change as you think, because the chain around your mind, your heart, your actions is still holding you back. Now, Morgan, you know, I mean, everybody got their opinion, you know, but, you know, some of us might not agree with all of what was said. And that's okay. We don't have to agree. But we do need to be exposed to it. So until next week, alafia, peace, and good health.